The most common question I get from viewers on social media or even on YouTube is how to accept myself, how I manage to accept me. Losing an arm, like what happened to me, or going through another physical transformation can be really hard to deal with, but I see it as the fastest that you can accept and move on to other areas of your life, the better off you will be. So in this video, I'm going to take you through some of the ups and downs that I overcame and some of the things that I did to deal with accepting my new body and rediscovering my self-worth. I lost my arm on April of 2017 due to a car crash. And while I was in the hospital, I had a conversation with my mom and she wanted to cheer me up. She was saying that I was going to get out and I was going to get better and things were going to be great. And I looked at her despite being under a lot of medication, but I looked at her, I held her hand and I said, "Mom, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go back to the gym. I'm gonna keep doing the things that I wanna do in my life. And I'm gonna get married and I'm gonna have a family and I'm not gonna let this stop me from living the life that I wanted to live." One thing that I do wanna point out here is the fact that having a positive attitude can make a world difference if you approach your new body, your new condition as this is it, this is the end of me, then of course that will be the end of you. There's really a mental game that you need to play with yourself, and I didn't see it that way. I saw it as, you know what? Life just threw this challenge my way, and what can I do to overcome? What can I do to transform this into lessons and into growth and become someone even better? So I do want to point out the importance of having a positive mindset. And if that is what's blocking you, then that is something I suggest you work on, because it will make a world difference how you approach problems. And this is not the only problem. You will approach other difficulties in your life, and how you deal with that, it really speaks highly of how your outcomes will be. I honestly don't think that I would have had all the opportunities that I've had if I didn't have a positive mindset. In addition to losing my arm, I also hit my face and I broke around my left eye. I also broke my nose. I lost a tooth and broke a few others. And to put everything back in its place, I had to go through reconstructive facial surgery. And during that surgery, they put 7 metal things in my head, in my bone, to make it so it would heal back in its place. And when I went home, I couldn't even look in the mirror. I had 18 stitches across my forehead. I had 10 stitches under each eye. I had stitches inside my mouth. I had the missing tooth. And honestly, as a 23-year-old, it was the hardest thing for me, because I have always been someone who is very feminine, likes to take care of herself, and facing that, what my face looked like, it was horrible. It was really sad. And I remembered that I would just not really want to look at myself, because I didn't think I looked pretty, and it was just a sad thing to do. I didn't want to be reminded of that. I had to also get off my medication. I had a lot of vertigo. So I decided to not focus on this, but I needed to get back doing things on my own. So I shift my focus from what I looked like to, all right, how can I start getting back to doing things on my own? And that was something that was really productive, because every time I felt sad about how I looked, I would just go out. I would go on the walk. I used to live a few miles from the beach, so I would just go walk all the way to the beach and back. And it was really good to just clear my mind and not think about what I looked like. Instead, I just chose to think about, hey, I'm walking, I am moving my body, I've been able to do this by myself. And then I started reading, I started doing things to take my mind off of what I looked like. Then I also went to Brazil for a few months. I stayed with my family down there, and I came back in December. However, I was feeling pretty good. I was back to doing things independently. I had been to the gym in Brazil, and I also took a class while I was down there in writing, and I felt good. So my parents, they went on a trip, and when I was alone, that is when I started getting really sad. I didn't understand this at the time, but whenever you lose something that is really meaningful and it's a significant loss, like an amputation, it's as if someone died, someone close to you died, because part of you is gone and you're no longer going to be that same person. You do have to transform, and that takes some grieving time. I didn't realize this before until I was on my own and I was by myself, and I had to deal with the fact that now I don't have an arm and I have to do things on my own, and I had to face the challenges. And honestly, most days I would just get up, eat, cry, I would go back to bed and sleep, and then I would get up and cry. And I just wished that this was all a terrible nightmare, and that I would just wake up and none of it would have happened to me. And I also started asking God, why me? Why did this happen to me? There's so many people, bad people out there doing bad things. And, I was just doing things that I thought was right. I wanted to help people achieve their fitness goals. I became a vegan. I was teaching people exercises and recipes on the internet, and I had a full-time job, and it happened to me, and it just didn't feel fair. And this went on for quite a while. I had these feelings and these thoughts, and one day I was just on YouTube and I found a video of this girl, Aileen from the Lavender channel, and she was explaining this goal setting exercise, and the instructions were draw yourself as you are right now and draw yourself as you would want to be in the future. Then compare the two and come up with a list of things that you can do that will take you from this today image to the future image that you want. And I remember doing that exercise, and I was just messy hair. I was in bed. I had gained about 16 pounds. my face was breaking out a lot. I just felt really, really sad all the time. And I drew my future version healthy and in heels, and just what I wanted to look like. Not just physically, but I also wrote down that I wanted to be confident in myself and in my skin. And I remember I came up with this list, and I came up with some goals that I needed to achieve in order to become that future version. When my parents returned, I did ask my mom to go to therapy because I knew something was wrong with me. I looked in the mirror and I didn't see me like this, the smile, the person that you know through my content. I wasn't this person. I was just a sad person, and you could see the sadness in my eyes and in everywhere. And I remember I went to therapy, and the whole hour I cried. It was terrible. At the same time, she did tell me to go home and write. And I think that that was the most positive thing that I could have done for me, because through writing, I started making sense of my feelings and what I was going through and how I could overcome and what I wanted to be. I would pour it all onto paper, and it helped me tremendously to understand that I went through something terrible, and that there is evil out there. There is, I believe in God, so if I believe in good, I have to also believe that there is bad, that there is evil out there. And for some reason, this happened to me, but I knew that I wasn't alone. I knew that God was just going to help me get through this. And I didn't turn my back to God. I know that that is a common thing that a lot of people tend to do. But when I wasn't strong, I could find strength through Him. And that is what supported me in the toughest days, in the toughest moments, because I would just pray that I would be able to turn this around. And here I am. So it was good to do that. I'm glad that I didn't lose faith. I did get back to the gym, and exercising has always been something that kept me from feeling sad. Sometimes I don't want to go. I don't feel like going. That's normal. But I go anyway because I know that I'm going to feel so much better when I get a good sweat in, when I do even a little bit of cardio, go for a walk, something. When I move my body, I just feel more capable. And I know that that does something really great for me mentally. I did also get a job taking care of 2 dogs, and those dogs helped me more than I could even describe, because I was with them all day and I would just go on walks. I couldn't take them both at the same time because they were big dogs. So I would go on walks a few times a day. I would just play with them. I would just talk to them. And it was just so good for me having pets because they are so loving. And it was just a great experience to have dogs around. Plus, I made a little bit of money and I saved it. By the time I had about $3,000 saved, I quit the job and I went on a summer trip to Europe, and I visited my cousins and friends, and it was just a dream trip that I've always had and I never did it. So it felt really good to honor some of the dreams that I've had before. And I spend a lot of time by myself walking around and thinking, and I was able to see that there was hope after all, that I was going to be okay, and that, not having an arm wasn't really gonna prevent me from doing really awesome things in my life. And by the end of 2018, I was back at work, and at first it was a little scary. I got a job with corporate training, and it was a little overwhelming being in front of people and teaching them, doing onboarding and stuff. But the more I did it, the more confident I felt. So I do want to point out that keeping your promises is very powerful to help you feel like you can do things. It gives you momentum to stay motivated and want to achieve even more. And I really felt that when I got back to work. And the more I learned, the more I overcame at work, the more powerful and in control and positive I felt about my career as well. I also tried to stay away from negative people. I know that sometimes it's inevitable, but I'm a very positive person. I like being around positive people because, a little encouragement doesn't hurt anybody. But negative people, sometimes you will say something that is a dream or a goal, and if they don't see it as something that is within the realm of possibility, they will discourage you from your dream. But they don't have the vision that you have. So I try to stay away from negative people because I know that they will just put me down when it comes to my dreams and my goals, and I don't need that. However, realistic people are really good to have, because if you say you're gonna do something and then you don't do it, a positive person will say, hey, you know what, that's okay. Next time, you get them another day, and but a realistic person will be like, hey, you said you were gonna do it, why aren't you doing it? So have realistic people around you. They will keep you humble and honest. They will keep you grounded, and they will tell you what's up. Like, hey, snap out of it. You're just going through a tough moment, but you're capable and you have the skills, you have the knowledge, go after it. So it's really good to have positive and realistic people in your life, but try to cut down on the negative people. I do want to point out a few last things. We talked about focus, changing the focus, and honestly, if you think about what happened to you all the time, you will be sad all the time. I can start crying if I keep talking about what happened to me and how much I suffered, but it's not worth it. It's a waste of time to keep thinking about the past, reminiscing on the what if. Oh, what if I did this? What if I did that? What if I acted differently? Well, you know what? It's a little bit too late, but that's okay, because there are things that you can do right now. There are things that you can prepare for your future, and those things are in your control. So, you know what? You went through something terrible. It happened. There's nothing you can do about it. However, your attitude, owning up to your commitments to yourself, going after your goals and dreams, not letting your past become a life sentence, those are things that you can do. Those are things that are in your control. And it's just a matter of shifting the perspective and the focus into the future. I also don't try to make sense of what happened to me, because that is also focusing on the past and on what already happened. And also, I don't want to put thoughts in my head that aren't true. So, for example, some people might say, well, you know what? That was a punishment. God wanted to punish you, or it's karma. I don't believe in any of that, because if I believe in God, I know that God loves me and that He is for me and He wants me to prosper. He wants me to be able to be a light in this world. He doesn't want me here sad and crying and throwing my life away because of something that happened. So I don't focus on what happened to me, and I don't keep reminiscing about why it happened. It did. The fact is that it did, and I can't change it. So what I do think about is, how can I be a better person, and how can I strengthen my faith? How can I be more confident in myself? And by thinking about all of these things, I have actually grown closer to God, and I've started reading the Bible daily. I've started seeking for what God says it is truth, because if I understand that He wants the best for me and that He cares for me and that He loves me, then clearly I wasn't punished by Him, you know? Like I said, if you believe in good, you also need to know that there is evil out there, and that there is things that happen, and it just happened. And sometimes those things don't feel fair, and life just isn't fair. You know, you have 8 billion people doing whatever it is that they want to do out of their heads. They don't consider what other people want. They don't really think in a community mentality. They think very individually, and it is what it is. So I don't dwell on this because it's not good for me. I do think about the future. I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but when my car went off the road, there was a doctor driving behind me, and he saved my life. He was there. He pulled over. He came over to my car. He did a tourniquet in my arm, and I guess he talked to me. I don't remember any of it, but he was the one that saved my life. So, you know, at the same time that something terrible happened, I was blessed to have this person there to save my life, because the amount of blood that I was losing, I would have probably died. So there is a greater purpose to be lived, and that is what I choose to focus on. I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know what you're going through, but I want to encourage you to find lessons in your suffering. Suffering can lead us to perseverance, and perseverance builds character. And when you have character and you forge those values, then you can be hopeful. And in every unexpected life situation, staying hopeful is the greatest thing that you can do. I would have never thought I would live the life that I live today back then. But I didn't lose hope, and I hope that you won't either. If you want to watch the video where I shared the full story of how I became an amputee, you can watch this video right here. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.